Good evening. In our news bulletin for tonight, the Chief Electoral Officer has given notice for the nomination of candidates for the general elections to be held in May. Organisers of the Niue Arts and Cultural Festival are concerned that there is a lack of interest in activities organised for this festival. Dame Valerie Adams made her first visit to Niue last week as the Pacific Sports Ambassador. Taro exports to New Zealand have been revived, but there are still a few minor issues that need to be addressed. Niue High School students took pride in their cultural heritage with performances at the school cultural concert last week. Primary students put their best foot forward in the annual Sports Day competition. The island is preparing to head back to the polls for the general elections that will be held on Saturday, the 6th of May. The Niue Legislative Assembly was dissolved on the 30th of March, and the Chief Electoral Officer has taken on board the role to give public notice for the nomination of candidates for the village constituency seats and common role seats. The election is held every 3 years as provided for in the Niue Constitution, with about 2 more weeks to go until polling day. Some people have already started campaigning, especially for the common role seats. People who would like to nominate or be nominated as a candidate for election have until the 20th of April to complete nomination forms. Once nominations have been received, candidates will be announced and voters will have time to consider where their allegiance lies. The 5th Niue Arts and Cultural Festival is only a few days away, and organisers are concerned that there has not been much interest or registrations to the various scheduled events. The biennial festival was initiated in 2009 as a way to bridge the gap and bring Niuean communities together to celebrate their cultural heritage. Taonga Niue and Niue Tourism have been the driving force on island, pulling together resources to make the event possible. But with each festival, there is a challenge in trying to get more locals to participate and showcase their talents. Taonga Niue Director Moira Enitama says that this year, government has set aside $30,000 towards the festival, and they will find ways or incentives to get more people involved. According to the program that has been released, the main public events have been arranged to be held in the evenings and will start with the opening on Friday afternoon, Niue cultural performances. There are also traditional hymns, Evangho Niue Song Quest, the fashion show and other workshops throughout next week. Although there has been a fair bit of advertising overseas, there still needs to be buy-in from the local community. Each festival has managed to draw back communities living in New Zealand and others from abroad, but the interest is waning, which organisers are now looking to see the feasibility of continuing this festival in its current form, with proposals to space the festival out over a number of years, but that will be a matter for discussion once the festival closes and they find a way forward that will benefit everyone. Famous New Zealand shot put champion Valerie Adams arrived in Niue for her very first visit last week. Dame Valerie Adams was appointed as the first ever Pacific Sports Ambassador for New Zealand in October of last year, and her trip to Niue was made possible through the New Zealand High Commission. She is a 4-time World Youth Champion, 3-time World Indoor Champion, and 2-time Olympic and 3-time Commonwealth Champion. We caught up with her briefly during her busy schedule to find out what it means to be the Pacific Sports Ambassador.
To be honest, it's actually to change the lifestyles and the, attitudes of the whole nation. It's not just the schools, but, at the end of the day, the adults of the island is the ones that are going to be leading the example for our young kids. So it is important for us to work together as Pacific people to make this happen, because we want them to live a longer, happier life and actually a healthier life, so they can live, good lives that we're able to help their kids later on in life, because there are choices. I think our biggest problem in the Pacific is actually portion sizes. Sometimes we cannot choose what we eat and all the rest of it, but if there's one thing that we can control, it is the portion sizes.
While she was in Niue for a few days, there was a session at the Niue Primary School where she was able to address the youngsters and explain how sports has affected her life. Students also had a chance to look at her medals that she won competing for New Zealand at international sporting events. Amidst all the excitement, there was time for photo opportunities and discussions with future sports stars who were also preparing for their sports day last week.
It's been amazing. Things like that really get kids excited, and we got to do whatever we can to get their attention, to get them excited. And I wanted to show them, that it is possible to win these things. If I could do it, anybody could do it. I brought these medals, which I won in Beijing, Rio, and London, into Niue, and it's been able to share the experiences and share the moment with them, and just seeing the smile on their face and just how excited they are. It's been an amazing journey so far. My career has been amazing, but what I do like outside of that is actually being with family. Gardening, I love to garden. I'm a bit of a green finger, so I do a lot of gardening at home. I've got a big garden at home, and just being kind to people and being one with each other. And I just got married about a year ago, so that's another responsibility I got to take on. But it's all part and parcel of the journey, and I really enjoy it. There is more to life than sport, and I realise that, and that's why I'm here on this trip to Niue. Is that this is my life outside of sport? Is actually being the Pacific Sports Ambassador and being able to help our people with my experiences in life and in my career, and we can adapt it to any part of life. It's not just sport. It's if kids want to become a doctor, a lawyer, the principle is still the same.
While on island, Dame Adams took time outdoors for a tour with Mesa and also cheered on a few of our local lifters at Taro's gym before sitting in for a rather entertaining Q&A session at a cocktail that was hosted by the New Zealand High Commission at the Tourism Office. On Thursday, there was a women's leadership forum that allowed for some current and aspiring young leaders to share their thoughts. Although most were starstruck, there was a positive mood in the crowd who found the opportunity inspiring to learn and share experiences. As a public figure and role model for Pacific Islanders, Dame Valerie shared a bit about some of her greatest influences and what keeps her well grounded wherever she goes.
My biggest influence in my life is my mum. I lost her when I was 15 and she was 39 to unfortunate, illness of cancer. And she's always been my inspiration right up until now. A lot of people ask me whether there is some sports star or someone that's, an athlete somewhere around the world, but nobody has been the most, influential person in my life apart from my mum. My mother herself came from a very, very poor family, and so did I, and I never ever forget where I'm from or where my roots are. Regardless of me doing what I do now and where I am right now, I don't have to, budget as much to eat or whatever, but I never ever forget my roots and where I come from and how everything started, because if you're able to get through the obstacles in life, then you're able to get through anything.
She spent 4 days in Niue, making appearances at several public gatherings, and we asked her what she felt about the island and its people.
We all come from very humble beginnings, and it's great to be here. There's a lot of love, there's a lot of support, there's a lot of laughter and happiness, and I think we could nurture that and use that in a positive way going forward. And at the end of the day, our kids and the children of Niue are the future of Niue, so we have to do whatever we can to make sure that they're in the best possible shape to be able to take on this country. To be honest, you got to find what is your passion. Like, love what you do, then it's easier. That's half the battle. If you don't love it, find something that you love. Because going to training will be a lot more harder if you don't love what you're doing.
After a brief appearance at the Niue Primary Sports Day on Friday, Dame Valerie Adams and her sister departed the island. Niue Taro exports to New Zealand have been revived, but there are still a few minor issues that need to be addressed for the program to run smoothly. The initiative was revived by Bill Mutavo and John Siakia with the help of the private business Shop Exports. The Taro export program started back in 2015 but was put on hold not long after due to the lack of taro on island to support the high demand in New Zealand. According to Bill Mutavo, Niue's taro has always been the best in the Pacific. This is also one of the reasons that Niue's taro is always more expensive than other Pacific countries when being sold in New Zealand. At the beginning of this year in February, the taro exports resumed on Friday flights through Air New Zealand, and in the past there have been issues with taro shipments taking too long to reach New Zealand and a large portion would spoil. Although shipping would be a less costly process, sending taro via air freight guarantees that taro will be relatively fresh and of high quality, but that also comes at a price. The process of getting sacks of taro certified and released to consumers is a lengthy and expensive process. Hence the taro price increase when sold at Shop Exports or the Chinese shop at Mangere Town Centre. Despite a few issues, the Taro exports via air freight will continue once the shipment from March has been sold. Farmers that are facilitating the Taro program will need to work with local farmers to ensure quality control and that Niue can provide the best quality taro that the island is well known for. Niue High School students showcased their cultural pride through their performances as part of their annual Culture Day last week. Pua Team was the host for this year's event that incorporated the theme for the 5th Niue Arts and Cultural Festival that is moving forward with the Niuean language. 4 teams spent most of their time with mentors and tutors sharing talents with song and dance in 3 categories: the Takalo or War Challenge, the traditional tame and contemporary tame. Organisers decided to remove the church hymn segment from this year's program. There was also support from resource people from within the community. For Pua Team, they were tutored by Harris and Laura Ikitule, Moya by Kimre Baha and Tawila Kaloni. Kiete mentor was Mavea Ruheke and Timothy Mahawa and Ronnie Ngafini Notama for Wangakali Team. The Niue High School Culture Day was meant to be held on Wednesday but was rescheduled to a funeral service for the Reverend Papitu Motalangi, who was an avid supporter and mentor of Niue High School in the past. The Paliasi field was filled with families supporting Niue Primary School students on their annual sports day last Friday. The day started with the marching events, led by Paeko and their team leader Tangawai Tuitonga. They were followed by Tufu team, led by Sally Beth Sionetama. Malo was led by Ronnie Talangi and Hahave led by J.B.S. Mukule. The placings were announced before the morning warm-up. Hahave team came in 4th place, Paeko in 3rd, Tufu in 2nd, and Malo were the champions for marching this year. Dame Valerie Adams was also a special guest and judge and speaker on the day, where she encouraged the young future athletes to do and be the best that they can, and anything can be achieved. Everyone's a winner in their own way. Niue Primary School teachers and volunteers presented trophies to the best sports girl and boy for each of the years. Year 1 champions went to Tiala Jackson, and first equal for Jeffrey Hunterman and Lachlan Talangi. Year 2 champions Esatasi Ainu and Simunga Puheke. Taliu Tohavaka and Andriva Sipeni for Year 3. Joshua Buckner and Juliana Kifoto for Year 4. Year 5 champions William Talaisi and Diana Randrole, and champions for Year 6 went to Kalanisi Formai and Angel Mokule. Miss Navaya Heko won the Niue Primary School girls coconut throwing, and William Talaisi retained his title as the Sika throwing champion. Students are now on a 2-week break for the first term of 2017. That concludes our news bulletin for this evening. We do hope you can join us again for our next news bulletin on Thursday.